Mysterious lighthouse. In the heart of winter, in the year 1801, the relentless waves of the Irish Sea battered the fragile wooden structure known as the Smalls Lighthouse, standing precariously upon 9 oak pillars 20 miles west off the rugged coast of Wales. The wind howled relentlessly, screaming past the isolated lantern room perched nearly 72 feet above the churning black water below. Inside the cramped quarters were 2 men, Thomas Griffith and Thomas Howell, who had been tasked with tending to the beacon. The lighthouse was their entire world, their job a solemn vow to keep mariners safe from the deadly reefs known as the Smalls. Griffith was older, rugged-faced, and bitterly set in his ways. Howell, younger and energetic, was prone to anxiety, particularly about the relentless solitude and violent storms. Weeks had passed since the mainland supply boat last reached them, leaving them stranded in the tower's solitude. Communication with the outside world was impossible. Their only hope lay in a distant glimpse of a ship, or the small comfort brought by their lighthouse's own flickering beacon. As days turned into weeks, the isolation intensified their usual arguments. The thin walls of the living quarters echoed their angry voices, rising and falling like waves crashing against rocks. One stormy evening, amid yet another fierce argument about rationing their dwindling supplies, Griffith suddenly staggered and collapsed. Howell, heart racing, rushed to his side. Griffith was lifeless, his eyes wide open in shock, his forehead bearing a deep gash where it had struck the metal edge of the lantern room. Howell panicked. The two had been known throughout the mainland taverns for their constant disputes. What if he were blamed for Griffith's death? In desperation, Howell constructed a rough coffin from an old wooden cupboard and wrapped his partner's corpse in a linen sheet. But with no place to properly bury the body and fearful of suspicion, he dragged the coffin outside, lashing it securely to the gallery railing. He prayed that the next supply boat would arrive soon, before madness took hold. Yet the storms persisted. The night stretched endlessly, filled only with the roar of waves and the ceaseless creaking of timbers under the violent assaults of the ocean. Sleep became elusive, invaded by nightmares of Griffith's corpse rising from its makeshift coffin, accusing Howell with silent, condemning eyes. Then came an even crueler twist of fate. A violent gale tore the coffin apart, exposing Griffith's lifeless body to the relentless weather. Howell's heart sank in despair as he saw the wind contort Griffith's arm, grotesquely extending it outward as if waving at the sea. And there it remained, night after night, visible from the lighthouse windows, eerily gesturing towards the distant horizon. Howell's sanity began to crumble. The sight of his dead partner, constantly waving from beyond the glass, gnawed at his mind. Days blurred into nights, hunger and terror entwining as the isolation broke down his grasp on reality. He raised distress signals repeatedly, hoping desperately for rescue, but no help came. Strangely, passing ships did see a figure on the gallery, but seeing Griffith's outstretched arm waving in the wind, assumed all was well at the lighthouse. Night after night, despite Howell's deteriorating mental state, the beacon faithfully lit the darkness, providing reassurance to distant mariners unaware of the tragedy unfolding within. Finally, after months of torment, the storms relented enough to allow a boat from the mainland to approach the tower. As it neared, sailors noted with confusion the unwavering figure, arm extended in greeting. Only as they climbed the creaking ladder to the gallery did they realize the grim truth. Griffith's corpse, now a weathered, haunting figure, stood tied to the railing. Inside the living quarters, they discovered Howell, barely alive, emaciated, and delirious. His eyes held no recognition, just a vacant gaze filled with incomprehensible horror. He muttered incoherently about whispers from the sea, accusing eyes, and the endless waving arm that haunted him day and night. Thomas Howell returned to shore, a broken man, never speaking clearly again. His story became legend, whispered among sailors and lighthouse keepers as a grim reminder of isolation's dreadful power. The haunting incident led authorities to mandate a minimum of 3 keepers for all remote lighthouses, a policy to prevent such tragedies from ever repeating. Yet mariners who still pass by the Smalls, even now replaced by a modern stone lighthouse, swear that in the shadowy twilight, one might catch a glimpse of a figure standing at the gallery, forever waving, an eternal sentinel reminding the world of the thin line between solitude and madness.